Hello and welcome to Video Vagrancy, the show where we review horrible movies for your listening pleasure. And, well, we're all going to still need therapy after this one. This movie is called, if you could call it a movie, or three that are haphazardly put together.
Essentially.
Which
collection of scenes.
Yes. That's the best way we can describe it. It is called Fist of the Vampire, a movie directed by Len Kabasinski, who is quickly becoming a legend in the field of bad movie making. Now, the guys here with me that had to sit through this monstrosity of film are my co-hosts, Danger Brain.
Yeah.
Cleopatra.
Hello.
And our guest for the night, X-Caster.
How's it going?
So, we were talking about how bad this movie was. Now, when we say that, I know we say that a lot about these movies that we do, but this movie, honestly, is, I think this is like the Nirvana of bad. This is the pinnacle.
Yeah, qualify that. What do you mean by Nirvana of bad?
It is so bad in every way, shape, and form. This movie shows you exactly, it is a how-to guide of what not to do when you make a film.
Very aggressive in its filmmaking techniques.
The way it's shot, the way it's cut, the way scenes are transitioned, the way characters are introduced.
Yes.
Special effects, every single aspect of this movie is wrong on all levels.
Yeah.
Yeah, so do we want to talk about the plot at all?
Let's get with
the beginning.
Was there a plot?
The beginning.
Well, I'm not sure if there's a plot.
I know.
So prior to watching this film,
I think there's 3 plots.
we read a plot from IMDb.
Yes, we did.
I don't even honestly remember that paragraph, but it was gigantic.
Well,
you know what? I'm gonna read that for our audience here.
It's quite lengthy.
So it is, and it made this sound like it was
halfway decent.
Yeah, it might be halfway decent, and also made it sound like it was a very complex story.
No,
deep,
it
for sure deep. Like it was supposed to be deep.
It was very complex. It took a lot to understand.
Yes, it did. Okay, so here's what IMDb says about the story. 1977, a family is murdered in cold blood. The case goes unsolved for decades and remains a mystery. Enter the present day, Detective Lee Southward is sent on assignment to infiltrate an illegal underground fighting tournament and bring in the organizers. Lee battles his way to the top of the tournaments and attempts to get closer to the organizers. As Lee draws closer and begins to piece clues together, he is brought back to the case closed decades ago. However, there is a problem. The organizers are of the undead and crave human blood. Lee must fight his way through all the sex, drugs, and violence of the underground while trying to piece together evidence with the help of an undercover officer and find a way to stop the undead. So that's what IMDb says about the movie. What do you guys say?
That's exhausting.
Right.
I honestly think it's overly complex. In contrast to what you guys were saying, I think that they're trying to, for the type of movie it is, go with way too much.
Well, and honestly, to be fair, hearing that now after watching the movie compared to hearing it before watching the movie, I think that paragraph is totally valid and honest, but that's giving it a lot of credit. Like, all those things happened, but all those things happened in such a way that I have no clue why any of that stuff happened.
We didn't understand.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Throughout the movie, we were very confused about which characters we were being introduced to. Nobody had a backstory.
Yeah.
Plot was disregarded to the fullest extent, and dialogue was just too muddy to make out what they were saying. So we didn't know
exactly.
What the fuck was going on at any given time.
Well, talking about character introductions. For instance, at one point in the movie, there's a guy that just appears behind 2 of the, I think, main characters. We couldn't figure out exactly who the main character was in this, but he just appears. They're having a conversation. He just appears behind them, and it's suddenly, "Hi guys, I am here now." Yeah. Okay, who the fuck are you?
So we're jumping ahead. I
jumped ahead there, but
that's a good scene to bring up. But let's bring it back to the intro. The intro is all about like this really campy, obviously trying to be grindhouse, scratchy, filter, and they play this scene for about 15 minutes to where you're like, is the whole movie gonna have this?
Yeah, it was like a grainy
scratch work filter over the camera lens.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
the filter
I guess
had a
we're
lot
being
of
introduced,
the grainy filter and everything. Yeah, it was bad.
At that
But
point.
it was digitized too. So I mean, it was obvious that it wasn't old film, but it was trying to pretend that it was old film.
It was added after.
It's very distracting, and the whole thing feels like a home video that somebody would just like concocted together, Windows Movie Maker or something. So it's pretty
not that our show is put together with Windows Movie Maker.
Not at all. But it did. I mean, it was distracting, and Danger Brain kept being very, very upset because he didn't want to keep watching that. And like, I was trying to give it the benefit of the doubt, believing that this was only an effect that they were doing during this opening scene. But it was getting harder and harder to believe that because it went on for a very long time.
It really did. Yeah, that 15 minutes that Danger Brain had mentioned. It felt like a lot longer than 15 minutes.
It really did.
And so the opening scene, which took place in, I guess, 1977, it features, at the very beginning of the scene, this character witnesses these vampires murdering somebody and takes off running for home. And the vampires follow him. They chase him down to his home and proceed to beat the ever-living shit out of him and his wife.
And really, everybody in the house.
Everybody in the house, yeah, and the mom, I guess, the wife of the guy that witnessed this. She hides their son in a cupboard under the sink in the kitchen, and while this is going on.
Right.
And,
well, we don't know who that is. We just know that she's hiding basically a child in that cupboard. So there's supposed to be some significance there, but the whole scene is so chaotic that nothing seems any more significant than anything else.
Yeah.
Several people are killed. One dude is hidden. Some other people are killed. Some people run out the door. I mean, like, nothing seems significant. So, like, it's hard to know what exactly to watch in that scene.
Yeah, the whole thing's just a mess. These fight scenes that they have in this where, I mean, the guy, the witness to all of this is being beaten by the vampires. It is so terribly shot, and there are so many cuts happening. Like each kick and punch that these vampires do to this guy, they probably do 3 or 4 cuts between each punch, and it just makes no sense. It's such a complete mess.
There's no discernible impact in any of the
right. It's so and it's like, you can tell that they want it to feel like it's supposed to be intense, but it just pulls you out of it. You're just like, God, that's so dumb. Why am I seeing the same thing over and over?
Right.
And then the white shots. You wanted to talk about that, Danger.
Every impact they got to have like the camera shaking. I mean, if not like the camera shaking anyways, like because the filmography is just so bad and the guy just can't hold the camera straight, but. They have to do a white flash, or you just can't tell when the impact is made, and you're like, geez, at least in Rocky or fucking, like Lionheart or any of these horrible, like, martial arts movies, Bloodsport, for instance, like, I always look at that for, like, one of the most campy, weird fight scenes ever, where he's fighting Bolo Young, and they're both just, like, doing splits and jumping up in the air and just doing this random shit. And, like, they're not making any impact on each other.
But they shoot it in such a way that it's actually entertaining.
Well, and you can tell where they are.
Yeah,
there's still spatial recognition of what's happening in the scene.
Exactly.
And that's the problem with this thing, is that there was no spatial recognition. Like, we couldn't tell what was happening because the same person was swinging the same hit 4 times in a row, and it was like, is it happening over and over?
Yeah.
Or is it just happening once and it's intense? Like, it didn't make any sense.
No, there was no consistency really with the shooting. And this goes on with pretty much all of the action scenes in the entire film. They were at times really hard to follow, and also just lame. Plain, just completely lame. They're very stationary. That's one thing, Danger Brain, you mentioned, is that most of these fights, the people are just standing in one place, swinging and kicking at each other, and there's no use of their environment. There's no use of the camera shots. They're not. There is nothing that is stylized in any way in this film. It's just very, very static and stationary.
Yeah, they're just hanging out in one spot, throwing these like random punches to these horrible sound effects. To add insult to injury, they recut the shots over and over again. They recut the same scenes into the same fight scene. They're like, hey, and it looks like they don't want to damage their kitchen or something. It's like the director's kitchen.
Yeah, right.
And
that's the
dirty
next scene.
as fuck.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, don't kick any of my pizza boxes.
Yeah, that's the next scene. It looks like these two actors are fighting each other, and this cop and this gang member chick, because we, after this whole massacre in 1977, we just suddenly jumped to this cop chasing some woman. We have no reason why. We have no idea why this is happening. He chases her to some house and gets into a gunfight and fist fight with everybody in the house. We're just assuming this some kind of gang. And he ends up having this prolonged fight with the woman he had chased in there. And they're fighting in a kitchen. And it, like Danger Brandon said, it looked like they were specifically trying not to damage anything in the kitchen. It was probably somebody's... like the director's kitchen, or maybe somebody's friend's kitchen.
But it was just like a garbage hovel fucking, like, filled to the brim with, like, just nasty-ass, like, boxes, and, like, it looked like it hadn't been cleaned for a while.
Oh, yeah.
So that's the weird thing.
Lived in. It looked very lived in.
It was lived in. Like, hey, just don't, you can shoot in my apartment.
Don't break anything.
Don't break anything. Don't kick any of my pizza boxes. Just stand that one spot in the middle of the kitchen. I kind of sweep everything away from there. And
that pizza box stack over there, that's been here since 1984. You kick that, I'm going to punch you in the fucking face.
So were there, like, knives and stuff they could have used in the fight around the kitchen?
There was nothing. They didn't even attempt to go that
and
way.
there was stuff in the kitchen they could have used, like, but they didn't use anything.
It wasn't like that scene from Kill Bill, trust me.
No, yeah, that scene was great, where they're using things that are actually around them in the environment to hurt each other. In this, there is literally emphasis on staying as far away from the things around the environment as possible.
They just stayed very, very still. They were like, no, you can kick, but 3 parts of you must stay still. That one leg can move, but every other part of you must stay perfectly still or you're fired.
Yeah, you can't move your waist past this point when you're kicking somebody.
Right, no, you must stay perfectly still. You are a mannequin with one leg that can move.
You kind of make me feel bad for the people who had to do the choreography for this movie because
it's terrible choreography.
They walk into this director's kitchen and they're like, we only have money to shoot in my kitchen and I'm not going to clean it.
I'm not.
You hit your partner and nothing else.
Yeah. Well,
they just didn't want to touch anything at that point, right. I think. They just didn't want to touch anything in that guy's kitchen.
And this whole thing, it has what a lot of the scenes feel like to me. They feel like people were brought in one day, and then they were like, okay, this is what we're going to do. Go. And then they just did it, like... There was not really a lot of prep. It doesn't seem like there was a lot of preparation. And you can see it in the fight scenes. The fight scenes are very 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Like they had maybe set up this rhythm to go with, and that's it. There's no imagination in the choreography.
Yeah, and it felt like they looped it even. I mean, and you honestly couldn't tell if they looped it or if they did it that many times.
No.
It was looped. It was looped, but I don't know.
Yeah, it probably was looped. But you're right. It does. Yeah, it seems like they had this like I was saying, this setup where it's like, okay, punch here, then punch there, then he blocks here and there, and then you kick there, then you kick there, and then they just repeat.
So this is the weird thing. Like this movie, they went out of their way to hire martial artists and professional wrestlers, just much like Over the Top, which we reviewed. A couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
They went out of their way to, hire professional wrestlers and athletes and people who were, athletically inclined. And, these people, they worked. They went in for an honest day's pay. They did their job, but
which is a smart idea. I mean,
yeah, and they weren't horrible. There was a couple of good like kicks, like thrown in a stationary position. That was like, guess what? You can't move from there, but you could do like one jump kick right here.
Yeah,
right.
Like, you'll
From
do
what
that.
they did, it looked like they knew martial arts, but it just was so slow, so
clunky,
stationary.
Yeah, stationary, and
You
just
said that a lot, but
that's really what
It
it was.
totally
Yeah.
is. That's the
It was
only
very
thing we could have
stationary.
come up with. Every time that we watched a fight scene from this thing, it was unless it was totally CGI like background, green screen. Not even CGI. I don't think this thing had any CGI.
There was a lot of green screen, though, I think.
Green screen is what I
they
meant.
took
Yeah.
one fight scene and pasted it on 3 different scenarios.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
what I meant. Yeah. No CGI. I mean, I'm quick to pull the CGI card. I apologize on that one. Kangaroo Jack kind of screwed me up.
Heard that a lot. So yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's ridiculous. Speaking of CGI, so I think that leads us into, so it's mostly kung fu fighting. Clearly, the director was like friends with these kung fu dudes, and so that's part of why that's there. But they still had to have gunfights, and in the gunfights, the bullets are always the most ridiculously drawn effects that make no.
Yeah.
They shoot each other in a DVD, like what is that? Video
It's
rental.
like a video
store.
rental store, yeah.
Every fucking time they shoot a bullet.
It's like
You
we
have-
see the
you know,
bullet
it is,
fly.
it's CGI, but it doesn't seem like CGI. It's MS Paint CGI.
It's very cartoony.
This
and
is
not
why
even
I'm
in a good way.
conflicted. This is why I'm conflicted, because I don't understand whether or not they just took every frame and put MS Paint over it, or if it was actually in a CGI program. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me.
And that's another thing that we noticed is that the blood effects and that sort of thing, it's like they started off in the first part of the movie where it looked like it was done in MS Paint and they just composited it in.
It's weird.
And then
Yeah,
later,
man.
as the movie goes on, it's like the blood effects get somewhat better, like they started using Photoshop or something.
Right.
But they're still terrible.
Yeah.
We
I
need
think they
to-
got some
yeah.
cash. Like, somebody was like, you know what, dude? They watched the first dailies, and they're like, that's really bad.
Yeah, maybe we should throw a little
Photoshop.
money to see
Right.
the effects.
do this.
Right, here's Photoshop right in there.
Let's work on it and we'll make it a little better.
Yeah,
Right.
we'll put a little more gusto into this.
It's like it's the very first time you played like Doom on a fucking like Hewlett Packard, fucking got an Intel 1 processor.
Showing your age here.
Like
Yeah, we're all turning into old men.
and you're like 3 frames per second, and like you shoot like a shotgun into an imp, and then you see the pixel blood come out. That's exactly what every headshot in this movie looked like. We're not dealing with John Wick here.
No. John
I mean-
Wick, you mentioned John Wick. In John Wick, the fight scenes, they happen to use the environment around them.
Right.
And they make the fight seem very organic and very natural, like a lot of action movies do. This movie feels so badly choreographed that they feel like they were put together by somebody that really knows nothing about choreography.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and the combination, like, it almost feels like somebody who knows nothing about choreography, nothing about where they're going to be, nothing about photography, so how it should look for the camera,
Right.
and nothing about actual kung fu. And like they just like put all that together, and they're like, "It's cool, you could have the job."
It feels like it feels like people at least had a general grasp of how a fight scene should look, but it feels like they were so limited. Like you said in our review before, like in Kangaroo Jack, how the editor was just so pissed off that he just went to the CGI kangaroo right to the stock footage.
Right.
In this movie, it seemed like they just wanted to have them throwing the same punches over and over and over again.
Yeah, you
And
think-
he was just pissed off.
Right.
And he's like, I'm the editor, and this movie's just garbage, and I don't give a fuck what you think. I'm just gonna make these guys punch for 3 minutes straight.
Yeah, doing the
it's-
same
do the
attacks
same
over
punch.
and over.
So the same 3 seconds of footage.
It's very possible.
Looped
It was
over and over and over again. And,
Yeah.
and that seems a lot like that to me, too.
It
On
was
that,
very
you,
gross.
you mentioned the slit throat, how that was really well done.
Yes.
Well, what
After
point?
that,
Well, what's the
I haven't
context
seen
of?
anything.
Okay, so
Yeah, what's
so
the
this
context?
X-Caster here, he came in a little late, and which is funny, he actually came in a lesbian sex scene, so I think at first he might have thought we were watching porn. But
All right.
There's gratuitous tit shots, and
There-
there's some lesbian sex in this movie, so it's.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not complete fail.
there's a lot
honestly.
of naked ladies in this film, which is no complaints. I think that was probably one of the best points of the movie. But The slit throat he's talking about, X-Caster's talking about, is there is a scene soon after the opening of the movie, not long into it, where one of the main characters, I say one of the main characters because I feel like there's 3 or 4 of them, who is also the director of the film, Len Kabasinski. He is, I think, the lead vampire, and I think he's also running this fight club, this underground fight club. He brings one of the female fighters home with him, and we think we're gonna, it starts off as it's gonna be this sex scene between the two of them, and it's very awkward and very just badly shot and very seedy and sleazy.
It's definitely seedy. Yeah. It's
Greasy.
It's greasy. That's what we
right.
said. Yeah, it was greasy. It was a very greasy kind of scene, which fits perfectly in this. But he is a vampire, and so he slits this woman's throat before they get down to the deed. And the actual slitting of the throat, the prosthetics they must have used for that actually looked fairly good.
Yeah.
The blood that came out and everything, it looked fairly competent for makeup effects. And
Yeah.
I started wondering, okay, well, if they can do that competently, why is it that the rest of this movie is so terribly done when it comes to effects?
Well, that whole scene, I mean, that scene is a perfect microcosm of the film as a whole, because while the prosthetics was intriguing and really well done, it still made no sense whatsoever. I mean, we had no clue why he was slitting her throat.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
he took this chick home, and they were, like, hot and heavy, and they seemed into each other, and then he's like, yoink!
Yeah,
Knife across the throat.
yeah, and we were talking about that. How, if there was some kind of a build-up or something, some kind of to show us that she was in mortal danger and that he was a vampire, there would have been more. There would have been a lot more feeling and meaning to that scene, and it would have been more to pull you actually in. But you have no idea what's going on except for that they're about to have sex, and then suddenly, he slits her throat and he's a vampire. Okay.
That's a big problem. That's a big problem with this film, is that you have no lead up, you have no backstory. These characters are not introduced properly, and it takes a lot of work to have a film that has a lot of characters that you need to have backstory for. But their main characters have no backstory. The people that this movie attempts to follow, you have no idea what the hell they're talking about, and it's just
I don't know.
Characters literally just pop in.
They just pop in, pop out.
They tie the 1977 to that Lee Southward at the last 10 minutes, though.
Yeah.
So you understand that that's his backstory.
Yes. Okay. So the main cop, Lee Southward.
They know you're not paying attention at that point.
Yeah, they know you're not paying attention.
They
at that
know
point.
you're not paying attention.
But
they have to play the
Here's
flashback.
But sure why he's doing this.
But Lee Southward, apparently the main cop, he apparently was the child that was put in the cupboard by his mother at the beginning of the film when his family was killed by these vampires. So he's really the only character that I can tell that has any kind of character arc whatsoever, is that he's trying to get revenge for his family's murder. But everybody else, there's no reason for them to be in this movie.
No, it's really confusing. And, like, I mean, I think that everybody in this movie, like, all the characters in this movie wanted to have a position. And so, like, because we have the people that are taking part in the fighting, and we have the vampires and stuff, but nobody is ever, like, interesting. Like Neckbeard, we have Captain Neckbeard. That's the vampire.
Neckbeard the Hut.
Okay, so he's the leader, right?
Yeah, he's like the leader of the vampire, like, fighting ring, but, like, he never fights anybody.
No.
He never does anything interesting. He just kind of shows up every time somebody's
I think he
fighting.
shot 1 or 2 people.
Okay,
He shot the gang member.
He shot one. Yes, there's
they
2
shot
gang
him,
members. Oh, they
and
shot him.
He came back and
And then, he did his vampire thing, healed, and came back, and then shot these 2 gang members.
Right. That's right.
he did have the prominent fight with Lee Southward at the end.
I'm
Oh,
reading.
Yeah,
You're
that's
right.
right. So by
Okay.
the end, that's right. He was the boss fight. So
You're right.
did
He was the
kinda,
boss.
like,
He was
set
the.
himself up.
Good way to say it. He was the boss fight. Yes.
Well, I'm glad you guys bring it back home with the story here, but I'm also reading about that throat slashing scene.
Yeah. What about it?
Did you find something about that?
Yeah.
Really?
People seem to think that was a pretty good effect, and that they should have gone with more practical effects with this one rather than CGI.
I agree.
It's one good
And
effect.
every CGI scene they did was just the most hackneyed, goddamn horrible,
They were terrible.
FMV, early Sega CD looking,
Right.
horrible goddamn shitfest.
Like you were
CGI.
saying, it looked rotoscoped a lot.
Rotoscoped,
It really did. And this throat slitting scene, it was very competent. It looked good. And when I saw that, I was like, oh, okay, well, maybe this movie's got some more surprises in store. Maybe they're actually going to have some good effects. Wrong. After that, it's all downhill. That's the best special effects you see in the movie.
Right. It's like the guy, like, they could only pay him for 1 weekend of footage, and then he had to leave.
Yeah.
So they had to then use MS Paint after that.
I know that they were like just all like buzzing up about that. They're like, "Hey, we got this guy's practical effects major in like this like whatever college." Like he just comes.
He went to Tom Savini's.
Like he's like there for
college.
2 hours. He's like, "Yeah, I'll just strap this to your neck, and then I'll press this button, and boom, boom, boom. Okay, cool. Bye."
So you guys have fun.
So from the half I've seen with the whole CG topic, I don't think one person actually held a real gun. It looked like they mimicked the gun and the gun was just pasted in.
Yeah, I couldn't tell.
Every gun looked very fake. I don't know about it being pasted in. I can tell you the backgrounds were very pasted in.
Yeah.
The backgrounds were totally pasted in for most of this movie, and I mean, I guess a lot of props could have been too. That's a good point. Fuck.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Like we talked about the bullets, like there have been times where they fired guns and the bullets are... It's like this terrible Matrix effect where instead of, you're seeing the bullet kind of in a slow motion state, but they look like they're cartoon bullets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So gross. It was so gross. Like, it just...
How do you describe?
I don't know. It totally ruined your, like, suspension of disbelief, because you're just like, why? It's just, none of it made sense. Like, I just keep going back to that. Like, none of it made sense.
Yeah,
it was no John Woo movie, people.
There's the scenes where the vampires get shot and they pull the bullets out and they are unshot bullets.
That's the director. The director of the movie. Yeah. Okay. So
they're unfired bullets.
We haven't mentioned even, and I'm surprised. We're 25 minutes into this. We haven't mentioned that the director of the movie is a starring role.
And we that hit on that. But
yeah. We did mention that, yeah. But Len Kabasinski, yeah, he is one of the main vampires.
Yeah, well, okay, he comes around and he gets shot a couple times and he's pulling bullets out of himself. And like, it just looks I mean, come on, it isn't your garden variety Rambo field surgery. Like, this is some bad retarded. He's regurgitating them out of his mouth.
Like Neckbeard the Hutt, he takes one. He actually spits out of his mouth, and he's got this big old grin on his face, like.
It's basically Ace Ventura, like
vampire style.
Vampire style.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
It was really bad.
And they're just obvious. Like, the bullets are there, the casings are there. Like, it's not just like a slug. I mean, it'd be one thing at least if they just had them pull slugs out and kick. But like, it's just, I don't know. I don't even shoot guns, and I realize how stupid that looks.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
it was terrible. Yeah, the gunplay was horrible. The death scenes, especially at the beginning, when we were seeing the MS Paint done special effects, people getting shot in the head, and it just looking like somebody had gone in literally with MS Paint, Microsoft Paint, and took the color red and just made little blood droplets, blood spray.
It was just like if they had taken the most basic, like, blood spray effect, and it's, like, pixelated looking, and it just looks like they did it in every single scene, every single, like, frame, rather, of those scenes.
And
it was jarring, and it looked like it was like they ended up lowering the frames per second for that, just so they could just, like, put the blood effects, and it was like...
Yeah.
The hell, man. But it was, the thing is, okay, so this movie is kind of elevated by Darian Kane being in this. It's obviously, she's a softcore porn goddess. And she elevates this because this guy walked in during this scene. There's a lesbian sex scene. There's a lot of gratuitous tit shots.
The one that rips into her chest with the nails?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and then she bites the girl's neck. And,
All right with that.
Yeah, and that was the lesbian sex scene we're talking about.
That's what elevated it for me, and that's what made me interested. But then it just kind of was.
Yeah,
shit
it's
again, but that was good.
Yeah, that was the scene that X-Caster walked in at, and like I said, I mean, this movie is so bad on so many levels that these kind of scenes were really the only high points in the movie.
I mean, yeah, but it also just made it seem like that much more sad. Like, you almost felt bad for these women. Like, why are you taking your clothes off in this kind of movie?
Oh yeah, like I was saying earlier, when we were watching, I was like, there's the part of me, there's the guy part of me that's like, oh yeah, great, TNA. But then there's the other part of me going, oh honey, no, not
They're
for this
paid.
movie.
They're
Don't
paid.
take your clothes off for
Right.
this movie, sweetheart.
Yeah, it's so sad.
That's
It's so
I
sad.
know.
So my question
They're
is,
paid,
these
but-
scenes, do they offer any character development or plot progression?
No.
Are they just there to
They
show
know.
that they do that?
Yeah.
I think it's
The
just
latter.
No.
it's just for the fact that they are getting TNA on the screen. There's no rhyme or reason for it.
Well, and again, absolutely nothing in this movie makes sense. So, I mean, each
Yeah.
scene that follows a scene is clearly following the scene, but we have no clue why.
Yeah, and
There's never rhyme or reason to what led to any. And that's something I kept talking about during the watching it. Like, there's so much carnage. There are probably dozens of people killed in this film, but I have no clue why anybody was killed.
yeah, exactly. Like we were talking about how it felt like there were 3 movies
Yeah.
that somebody had cut together to make one movie. One a cop movie, one a vampire movie, and the other a tournament or underground tournament fighter.
Right.
And the scenes do not go together cohesively. They're not cut together in a way that makes a lot of sense.
any sense.
Yeah, and so it just feels very haphazardly thrown together, and it makes it very hard to follow. Characters are not introduced; they just pop in. They, you don't have any kind of connection to these characters to give a damn about them.
Yeah.
Let me stop you there. There are movies that can have characters pop in, and just because of their sheer, personality, veracity, like crazy mannerisms, whatever. Like Crispin Glover in River's Edge, his character
Okay.
pops in and
Okay.
out, and he's like a speed freak, and he drives this like crazy ratted out.
But that's the thing, though.
bug.
There's some character development there. His character gets developed every time he shows up on the screen.
There's
In
a
this
reason
movie,
he pops in.
Yeah.
Like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
right? There's development to these characters.
That's
You
true.
get to know some of these characters. This movie, there is almost no character development for any of these characters. They're just there.
And they can't understand what they're saying because they're so muffled in their audio and the way they're speaking and
Sometimes.
talking.
Yeah.
One character will come out clearly in the same scene. The next character.
The
you
music
can't
comes
hear.
in clearly.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the music a little bit. Like the soundtrack isn't horrible.
No.
Like some of the songs are actually kind of fucking rocking.
And actually, I think I think because I've heard about this director before. I've seen him in interviews, and he has said that he does have bands that do the music for them. So I know that this music that is in his movies it's originally produced. So that I will give them credit
That's
for.
actually
Yeah,
It's
good plus,
it's not
actually.
a lot of it's not like stock music or anything. So
that's cool.
I'll give them
What I've
that.
heard, each sound or each song fits with the current scene. It's not
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
something abstract that's like, oh, here's classical music when guns are firing.
Right, yeah. There's a lot of like rock music when there's fight scenes and that sort of thing, and they fit with the scene. Kind of. Usually, I mean, for the most part, they
I
do.
mean, it's jarring from each one fits with the scene. I guess I'll say that, but the scenes don't match together. So
Absolutely.
it's really jarring.
Okay, yeah.
Better
you'll have
said that way, yes.
You'll have a nothing scene which has some good music that goes kind of nothing, so it's kind of mellow, and then you have an action scene with really crazy music, but there was no transition. It was like calm and then mellow.
Boom.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And as mentioned before, the sound quality when it comes to characters speaking, ambient sound, horrible.
Oh.
The sound equipment they must have had. I don't know what it was. I mean, but it was not good.
It's just.
It was not
God,
good.
It was so muddy and
It was
just not
very
picked
muddy.
up by whatever. They didn't have boom mics or something. Like it's almost like the way we're recording right now.
Right.
from a laptop speaker. And you know
Yes.
what? The fact of the matter is, I think they were using an iPhone to film this. I don't know. What do you think? It
You
looked
know,
a lot like it.
I think that they used actual cameras, but I think they used pretty cheap, kind of low grade.
They would have
consumer
benefited.
cameras.
So let's put it
digital
this way.
cameras.
They probably would have benefited using an iPhone. That's sad.
Maybe. I mean, they were prosumer. I mean, like, that's the thing. It definitely, it maintained a look. I mean, I think that they did that on purpose, but I think some of the times it was accidental, too. I mean, that was part of the thing I talked a lot about was lighting, is that, like, everybody was visible within the shot, but nothing was really artistic or deep.
No.
Like, everything was just like if you were, like, two people hanging out in the living room shooting a conversation between them chatting.
Exactly.
Whether they were shooting each other or chatting,
Yeah.
it didn't matter. That's how it looked.
There was no style to it. And another thing is that there were scenes that were filmed with green screen that did not need to be filmed with green screen.
Right.
Like, for instance, there's that scene where the three of the vampires are meeting, and they're, like, meeting in some kind of a warehouse or something like that. It looks like it, but it's a green screen.
Right.
So, they could have been in, the director's garage, for all we know.
Most
And
of this movie was
they coulda
probably
just went to-
filmed
yeah,
in
they
the
coulda-
director's house,
Right,
in his garage,
right,
and his
right.
living
No, we
room,
looked
and
up
his,
three locations in Pennsylvania.
There were 3 locations in
Okay.
Pennsylvania they filmed, but that could just be for the outdoor shots and stuff like that they actually had.
Right.
Scenes like the one I was talking about, where they were in the warehouse, they could have shot that in a real location instead of doing a terrible green screen effect, because the background was horrible.
Yeah. Well, and I think at times they wanted to do a Sin City-esque, cartoony feel to it. I mean, I felt like the bullets wanted to be that.
Kind of a hyper stylized kind of, yeah.
And I felt like the green screen kind of wanted to be that, but they didn't commit to that or commit to realism. And so it was just this weird sloppy blend of the two that just felt awkward. And like, I was like, why am I watching you like suck at this?
I agree.
And they did. They really sucked at it.
I agree 100%.
Yeah, I do too. That's
It was
a good
like
way to
student
good way to
film.
put that.
It was like they were just like, we're gonna try this and fail at it, but please watch it anyways.
It was like somebody's like student film they were gonna have graded.
Yeah.
And it's just, that's every moment of this film made me think that. And the fact that we sat through the whole thing it's almost like I had to appease some friend and be like, hey, this film was actually pretty good. You did a great job.
Right?
Kudos to you.
Well,
Yes.
and he's made several more of these movies. Like, Len Kabasinski is becoming somewhat semi-famous these days.
Yeah.
People are starting to notice these movies now, and let's just say most people have similar things to say that we do about them.
That they're amazing.
They are amazing.
so amazing. It's one way to put it.
amazing.
Yeah, that is one way to put it. Amazing, not in a good way.
I mean, again, like I talked about this in the Kangaroo Jack, but like in Kangaroo Jack, I've made a lot of jokes about how much money they gotten. So this guy clearly has no money, and yet he still convinces an awful lot of people to take part in this project. And so it's still like that kind of thing where he's like shows up and he's like, I need you to be in my movie. And they're like, what do you want me to do? And he's like, you're a vampire. And they're like, all right, why? And he's like, well, I'm not really sure, but we'll figure that out when we're shooting it.
Exactly. Yeah. You could tell that there's, no budget with this. That's for sure. And it looks like he's got, Len Kabasinski has done Zombiegeddon, Minds of Terror, Swamp Zombies, Curse of the Wolf, this movie, Fist of the Vampire, which was made in 2007, Apocalypse Female Warriors, Wendigo, Bound by Blood, Ninja Prophecy of Death, Bridal Party Massacre, Skull Forest, Blood Mercury, and the new rumored Angel of Reckoning, due out 2015.
It's a quality lineup. I honestly, Dr. Sleaze sent me a picture of this 20 movie horror collection pack. And this is a movie I picked this movie out just from looking at the cover of it, and I knew it was going to be about a fighting tournament just from knowing the name and looking at the cover of it. And so we watched it, and like I didn't realize there was a fighting tournament. It was about 45 minutes in, and I'm like, okay, well, I guess that's a part of the movie. It's kind of weird. I prophesized that, but from knowing the title of the movie, but
There's definitely a fighting tournament in there.
There really is. It's
Yeah.
at some point.
It's horribly done.
Nobody knows why. I'm still confused.
I'm still confused.
But yeah,
I mean, that wasn't the center focus, which is the weirdest thing, is because the movie just went in and out of just random.
Just back and forth from these different scenes that some of them seem to just have no relation to the scenes that were put around them.
Yeah.
Like I said, like we had said, it felt like 3 different movies that were cut together to make one film.
And I've seen movies that are 3 different movies that are cut to be one film.
Yeah,
that are better than this.
We were talking about Godfrey Ho films. Godfrey Ho
and the
is
swap with like De Niro. Like they just cut a couple of his movies.
Oh, really? I didn't see that one.
or even like 4 rooms.
Yeah.
You know, 4
rooms,
four
different
directors.
stories. Yeah.
But this, because these all 3 wanted to be related. Like all 3 were like part of the same movie, but none of them made any sense. I mean, like they just like. That's what's so silly about that plot that you read earlier. I mean, that gives it so much credit because now that you read that again, it makes sense. I mean, clearly, okay, so the cop was moving up the ranks through that boxing arena.
Yeah, but
the way that we cut back and forth from boxing to like cop killing people in homes, to like it made no sense.
It was just not. It was not put together well enough and competently enough to give the viewer the idea of really what was going on.
Yeah.
We had no idea that this guy was moving up the ranks in this fighting tournament.
Right.
We honestly didn't even know what the fuck he was doing there.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
Every time we saw him in the arena, we were like, okay, what's happening? Is that him? Is he actually fighting in this fight here? Or, I mean, like, at least, okay, so we got to give credit where credit's due. Like, movies like Bloodsport, The Quest, Lionheart, whatever, what have you. These bad Jean-Claude Damme movies where he's in a tournament, every single movie, you know what's happening. You know he's going through the ranks. You follow his character, and he's...
Yeah, but the film focuses more on the tournament,
He's fighting people with different styles of fighting, you know? Like, what's another one? I'm trying to remember it.
Kickboxer.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's exactly the one.
But this thing, they focus on the battle, on the tournament. It's a main focus of the story, and it stays focused on that. Yeah. Even though there may be some subplots here and there, it still stays focused on the main story point that they're at a tournament and he must win the tournament.
You're grounded. You're grounded with a main character who you are following the events of his life. In this movie, it just cuts between every random scene with people who are not introduced properly, who are just shoved in your face.
You have no idea why they're there. You don't know who they are. You don't know what they're supposed to be doing in the film half the time.
Yeah.
I mean, you got a prolapsed fucking anus just like waddling out, like just.
Well, like the guy in the suit. I mean, he was basically
died out.
Yeah.
Face.
Yeah.
The guy in the suit. He was the total epitome of Sphincter of the Galaxy. He was the epitome of Sphincter of the Galaxy.
He very much was. But there'd be scenes where it'd just be like 2 people talking, and you'd have like a wide shot of the 2 of them talking, and then cut to some close-ups back and forth of them talking, and then cut to a wide shot, and there'd be this guy there.
And then the guy in the suit, this third cop just appears. Boop! Hi guys, I'm a cop too. Can I join in the conversation? That's pretty much what happened.
I mean,
so
you get it when there's somebody when there's like extras and they're sent in as cop characters or whatever. You get that. This guy was obviously focused to try to be a main character.
Yeah.
And all that happened was like they zoomed in and he was just kind of just standing ominously behind people, and he's like ready to partake.
It's kind of like, I wonder if they've noticed me yet.
Right. And then he would have what we could tell as important like plot shit. He'd be like, oh, you guys got to go to this place, which would then lead to some other shit that didn't make sense.
Right. Well, I mean, right after that scene where he just appears, they popped in. They like the scene after that. They're in like a Starbucks or something, and they're all having coffee together, talking about what they're going to do next.
Right. Yeah.
So okay.
Like, okay, I guess you're a part of the team now.
Right.
This movie tried to employ a lot of mini Deus Ex Machina.
Deus Ex Machina.
God
moments.
of the machine.
Where this suited man guided people to events, and like
He was a plot device.
Yeah, he was
the Morgan Freeman
he was a
without the
plot
voice.
device.
He was
yeah.
the
How do we get them to find out? Let's just put this man in there with the information they need.
Yeah, he's kind of expository guy, like expository man. He's there to explain things to the characters and to the audience, so that we understand. But it didn't work.
Yeah, I mean, if he at least worn that on his shirt, if his shirt just said "expository man," then I would have been cool with it. You know,
he's there to spew expository dialogue so people can get what the hell's going on in this mess.
Or maybe if he walked into the room instead of just teleporting right there.
Just teleporting behind them.
Like 2 steps.
Yeah.
Like that's all we need. We didn't need like a whole walk down the hall into the room, but like 2 steps of him into a room, cut up to his face. Boom, we know he's there.
Yeah.
But to just have him, and this happened several times. It wasn't just that one scene.
No.
This was 3 or 4 different scenes where it was basically that. They would cut back and forth to close-ups, cut out, and he's just standing in the room. Like, what's up, folks?
And it happens with other characters, too. He's just the most prominent one.
Yeah.
Even the fight scenes had it. One of the characters would be knocked down. And the next scene, she'll be within arm's reach of the other, fighting again. There's no showing her getting up to get ready. Just boom, she's ready to fight again.
That was exactly how this movie could easily be described as, like, I mean, the most poorly, shoddily put together, like, inept, like, fucking, like, to a goddamn, like, certain magnitude that we can't, as humans, describe or comprehend. This is horrible. This movie is goddamn garbage to, like, I mean, okay, so I think that everybody who's thinking about watching this film, I'm sure you have it, like, on a 20 DVD pack, like my friend Dr. Sleaze does.
I don't think they sell these on their own anywhere.
That's the thing. Okay, so
if you paid for this, you got gypped.
Oh, you absolutely did.
You really,
unless you really want to own a film, if you're like a filmmaker or like a huge fan of films and you want to own a movie that shows you exactly what not to do when you're making a movie, this movie is a great educational tool to show you that.
Yeah.
See that? Why does everybody jump to educational whenever, like, there's something that's detrimental on a certain type of movie genre or anything? They're like, hey, people learn from this. Like, every time something sucks, like, they're like, hey, you learn. You know what?
Well,
I don't think you're going to learn. I don't think you're going to learn a single fucking thing from this. I think you're going to hate your life. Immediately.
You will hate your life.
Upon watching this.
You will hate your life, but I'm saying, from a filmmaker standpoint, if you watch this, you'll see, hey, this is how not to fucking make a movie.
I just don't want to think about any of the positives that could come out of this. And I was actually trying to come up with a checklist of pros and cons earlier, and I completely abandoned that within about 10 minutes of this movie.
There's only cons.
Because I was so upset about the filter at the beginning, to begin with. But I was just like, I can tell this movie's just like someone's home videos. Just
not even 5 minutes
together.
in. It was like 30 seconds into the film after the opening credits.
I'm giving it too much credit.
Yeah.
I'm giving it too much credit, I think.
It really felt like he went on Facebook, said, hey, I'm doing a movie. Show up. I'll pay you with pizza and beer.
Or Choco Tacos.
Or Choco Tacos, yep. That's exactly what it was made, yeah.
Yeah, some combination of both. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I felt like it was community theater actors. I mean, I felt like it was people that wanted to be actors, and like, I almost feel like it's one of those. Did you ever see Coven, American movie?
Yes, I have.
I felt like it was kind of that. Like, they kind of felt bad for him. Like,
right.
He's like, they're like, well, he wants to make a movie.
Yeah.
So I'll show up and be in it.
Yeah, but that guy, I'll give him one thing. He was very passionate about his vision, and he went and did it. It was bad, but still, he went and did it, and he had the passion to do it. So I think that also is what a lot of people got involved with because they all kind of were like, hey, man, this guy's really into it, really passionate about it. Let's make this film with him,
Yeah, well, so I like to believe that this filmmaker had that passion.
Me
too.
And
whether or not that's true is totally up for debate. I don't know him, but I'd like to believe that. I mean, because there is a large cast. There's a lot of people involved. Like, somebody had to believe that it was fun or interesting to be in.
There are people in this film who seem like they kind of give it a certain measure of... I don't know. They give certain measure of themselves in the acting ability. It's not a complete loss in every way, shape, and form. But that said, Cleopatra comes from the personal perspective on this, and you've actually directed a film, and you've directed people, and you've written, and you've done cinematic shots, and filmography.
Yeah.
And okay, so
and
explain a little bit about like your perspective on that.
Well, so I did say that watching this. I feel like it was pretty low budget overall, and I do feel like that I'm hurt that he gets attention when I don't, because my film is as equally low budget as his film was. So even if you're watching it because it's the worst shit ever, at least give my shit a chance too, because it's also really horrible. But overall, I think like, to that end, like it is a lot of work to make a movie. They obviously put a lot of work into this.
Sure.
They got a lot of people to do it. They spent many hours putting this stuff together. I just don't think that they really ever had a cohesive plan. I think that at one point they wanted to make one type of movie, and at another point they wanted to make a different type of movie, and at the last point they tried to make some other kind of movie, and at the end they just tried to put it all together, and it was a mess.
You're right, absolutely. And, I saw an interview with Len Kabasinski, and, the people interviewing him, they had asked him about making these films, and he had said that one of the reasons why they do it is just because they enjoy it. They have fun doing it. And, to that, I say, cool, whatever. If you guys enjoy doing it, keep doing it. Whatever, he even admits, they're terrible films. They're definitely never going to win an award anytime soon.
I actually respect him a lot for that, because we have the other guys like Uwe Boll. And,
yeah,
and
Uwe Boll, because he does it in such a more of a cynical kind of way, because he's ruining beloved franchises, whereas this Len Kabasinski's, he's making his own thing, and he's not trying to. He's obviously not taking himself that seriously.
That's like actually that's a big part of it too.
Yeah,
that actually is a big part of it.
So it makes these movies a little. To me, not as offensive as something like an Uwe Boll film.
I'm not.
They're ruining Far Cry, or they're ruining House of the Dead, or Alone in the Dark as a franchise. They're making them look bad. When it's like people love these games and you're shitting all over it and slapping them in the face,
Why?
Yeah, why? But Len Kabasinski is not doing that. He's making bad films, but he's doing his own films. He's not ruining a franchise that's already there, and he enjoys doing it.
Yeah.
Going
back to them all having fun as a whole, like, when we were doing Kangaroo Jack, like, we talked about that a lot. There was no chemistry. Like, nobody seemed like they were all there for a paycheck. Like, these people, you can tell, are not there for a paycheck.
Yeah.
Like, whether or not they're doing a good job is debatable, and they pretty much sucked at it. But it's still like they're all there to have fun and do it. And so that does come across. There is a fun to the film.
Well, and there's obviously they didn't have this is probably one of the lowest budget films I've seen in a long time, and so they obviously didn't have the money to pay a bunch of people. So I think everybody that was involved in this probably, like we were saying before, probably pizza and beer,
right?
And, like you were saying, like Xcaster was saying, pizza and beer was the pay, and just have a good time, hang out, film some scenes, and enjoy yourself.
Right.
That's what I think these films were.
Yeah,
when they
and
made
I think that that's commendable to a degree. I don't think that, and that's the thing is we can say it's easy for us to sit here and make fun of it, but they did put a lot of effort into it, and
they did,
and they had more fun with it, and that's why I think, just me personally, I can't speak for the group, but me personally, I enjoy mocking something like Kangaroo Jack more than something like this film, just because I know that so many more absent-minded people were involved in Kangaroo Jack. Whereas, I feel like everybody in this movie was there and taking part. Whether or not, like I said, they failed at it, and in most parts they did fail at it.
There was love put into this
film.
This was Kangaroo Jack, like you're saying. There were talented people involved in that. It was just they were phoning it in.
Right. Or even like the wrestling or the arm wrestling movie.
Oh,
Over the Top.
Over the
Yeah.
Top.
yeah,
Yes.
same thing there. I think
By
a lot
the
of people
numbers.
there
Yeah,
were just
by the-
there for
yeah.
a paycheck.
Yeah, it's just, they're silly, they're ridiculous, but and it's like, yeah, those I absolutely agree with you. This movie, there was more love put into this. Yes, it's bad, sure, it's terrible, but there's a lot of love put into it. The people that were doing it were having fun doing it, and I don't see anything wrong with that. I think that if they enjoy doing it, keep doing it.
Right. Why not?
Sure, they suck, but hey, whatever.
Well,
you guys had fun.
Yeah, I'd love to watch some more, and we can
Yeah.
review some more of his films. But
Oh,
at least
yeah.
he understands. He knows what he's doing, so it's cool.
And in the interviews that I've seen with him, he seems like a good sport about it. He knows they're bad. He admits they're bad. He says, "Hey, yeah, these are bad movies, but we all had fun doing them." So I commend him for that. I do.
All right, so it's a little bit less offensive when you explain it in that
Context.
sense and that context. To me, it was very difficult to sit through this. In the first,
It was
in the first, I don't know how long, maybe half an hour.
half an hour. For a good
I
half
was
an hour,
begging.
Danger Brain was like, "Okay, we got to shut this shit
Yeah.
off, man.
was
I can't handle
begging-
this."
I was begging to go to a different movie, and I have ADHD, so it's tough for me to sit through a movie, period. But this movie is not something I would vow upon my worst enemy.
Ouch.
So I have strong criticisms.
Poor Len Kabasinski.
I feel like this movie is like the dredge of society and humanity as a whole. I feel like it needs to be like beaten over the head with a shovel and I don't know, probably like severed limb from limb. And I feel like it's god awful garbage. And if I'm gonna say Over the Top is a bad movie, this movie is not gonna. My scorn is gonna go wholly towards this movie. I'm gonna have my scorn set upon this movie fully. Because I feel like if I'm going to talk shit about Over the Top or any of these Stallone movies, I can't sit through this movie thinking in my head, yeah, I made fun of these other movies, man. I'm totally going to be all for this piece of shit. No! This shit sucks. Bad, garbage, runoff water, straight funneled right into your fucking mouth.
Wow.
Right into your nasal cavities.
That's
I don't give a fuck. This movie sucks, goddamn awful fucking shit. If you ever see it, you're never gonna watch it. Because you're not gonna fucking even deign to watch this piece of shit.
I don't think that's inaccurate.
No, it's not. It's not inaccurate at all. It's not. And like what he's saying, I mean, Over the Top, Cobra, things like that. Yes, they're silly. They are literally over the top. But the thing is that they're competently shot.
Right.
They're competently shot films. They are cohesive films.
budget's
You
a big
understand
thing,
what's
too.
going. The budget. You also understand what's happening in it. Characters are at least developed enough.
I'm not trying to talk up these movies. I'm not trying to talk up Stallone movies. I'm just saying, if I'm gonna talk shit on all these other movies, this movie, like I said, it was a hard pill to swallow, but I eventually sat through it.
Yeah.
And I think I'm a better man for it because I think we're going to watch a lot of worse movies than this even, which is really hardcore, but eventually we will for Sphincter of the Universe, which is
Another show that we're doing. It's headed up by Danger Brain and Cleopatra. And they just did a review of Kangaroo Jack. By the way, check that out if you get the chance. It's on the Video Vagrancy Facebook page. There's a link to the YouTube episode. So yeah, they're going to be doing a lot more of those episodes as well. Video Vagrancy is still going to be around. We're going to keep doing episodes of this. This is the flagship series, but Sphincter of the Galaxy or Universe?
Galaxy.
Sphincter of the Galaxy. Sphincter of the Galaxy.
Very specific one place. It's not the whole universe.
Yeah.
It's just the one space.
That's one big sphincter.
Right, yeah.
okay, so this movie was a real sphincter, and I'm sorry, I was the harshest critic of all time on this one. But like I said, I honestly embraced it after a little while. I was like, you know what?
You didn't. Don't lie.
I kind
Yeah, you didn't. You
didn't.
never
No.
embraced it.
No, you hated this film, and I don't in any way disagree, and that's the thing. And I tried to say at the beginning of the thing,
Yeah,
it
I don't disagree
made
either.
absolutely no sense.
Yeah. No, it is a
Nothing.
terrible, terrible movie. Like,
Yeah.
it's a horrible film.
I just kind of
I
put
agree.
myself in the director's shoes, and I kind of put myself in the actor's shoes, and I kind of was like, okay, well, I'm going to just throw the worst CGI effect, this cheapest CGI effect I can. I'm going to have a couple guys in a video store that my friend, works at, and he was willing to let us use,
after hours, once his shift was over.
I'm going to let people, do shit in my living room and all this shit. I can see myself doing that and trying to make a movie out of it. So, in that context, yeah. And I mean,
in that context, yeah, what?
In that
context, yeah, I can see how this movie could have a redeeming quality, and they tried their hardest on this. Whatever, I'm sorry. That's my best fucking praise on this piece of shit.
At the last minute, you flipped. I don't like it.
Well,
Not cool.
fucking flip.
I'm not trying to flip.
So yeah, well, I mean, do we have some sort of summation here? So I mean, in summation, I feel like the film was a hodgepodge of dedicated individuals sloppily putting together something sloppy that made no sense. And they all wanted to be there, and they all, I think, knew what they were doing, but none of us will ever have any clue. Is that fair?
That's fair. I agree.
I agree fully.
It was a complete mess. Characters made no sense. You had no emotional attachment to anybody or anything that was going on.
Scenes cut from one scene to another with absolutely nobody's ability to comprehend what's going on. Just cut from one to another.
Yeah.
Fight scenes were very badly shot, very badly choreographed, very badly cut. The editor was obviously on some kind of hallucinogenic drug, or he just wanted to fuck with this movie hardcore. Just like a lot of times we have a conspiracy theory right now about how editors for these bad movies just want to fuck with these movies. And the end result turns out to be the movie sucked to begin with, but these guys kind of made it redeeming because of the editing. It's so funny.
Right.
Yeah, this movie's editing was definitely not redeeming at all. It was one of the worst points of the film was the editing. If this movie was edited together better, it could have actually been a much more competent film, even with the bad effects and everything else and the bad fight scenes. At least you would know you'd be able to follow a lot better what was going on.
That's such a hard thing to judge. Okay, the editing was bad, but the choreography is bad. So these guys were probably analyzing these scenes. The fight scenes, for instance, like the kicks and stuff, they're that part looks so stupid we had to cut a couple frames off of it.
Yeah.
So...
But that's different editing than the hodgepodginess. And that's I think, and I think that's what he's saying is, and I agree with that. If it had been cut so cohesively, like a story separate from another story, then maybe we would have clue what's going on. We could watch a character.
I'm trying to think of myself as a filmmaker, and obviously this movie is not something I would set my sights out to make, but it's it seems like a very amateur effort. And if this guy is an up and coming, is he really seriously getting a lot of buzz lately?
No, he's been getting more buzz. But the thing is I think that people are watching his films
just purely out of
making fun of the movies. Yeah. He's getting a reputation, and his films are getting a reputation for being very bad, and so. There's a lot of YouTube shows, review shows, and that sort of thing that are starting to review his films. I know Red Letter Media did a review of one of his films, and they even had him on. One of the interviews I was talking about was a Red Letter Media interview where they had him on.
That's the thing. I honestly, the time when fucking Dr. Slee sent me the image of the 20 movie horror pack, and the first thing I mentioned was Fist of the Vampire. I don't know why that is. Somehow I knew it was going to be a link to a martial arts tournament, and that's the only reason that I called it out. And I'm like, we got to watch this one.
Well, yeah, if you're going to put Fist as the title, it's just you better have martial arts. I mean, in a way, that's what I mean. In a way, that's where the guns were lame. Why have guns?
Yeah, why? Yeah.
They should have made it solely based on some martial arts talent.
Especially since his friends are martial artists. I mean, yeah, it was just a gross.
There was like some
It was
martial arts.
gross. It was just disgusting.
The worst thing is they did have martial arts talent and they didn't utilize it properly. They just decided to do their own bad CGI and
bad choreography.
Yeah.
It probably would have been better if they had. I don't know who choreographed this film, but if they would have actually had the martial artists doing their own choreography and fight scenes, it might have turned out better.
Yeah, it's probable, really. I mean, because you could tell that somewhere someone knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
It just wasn't the people on camera or the people shooting it.
Right. And something tells me Len Kabasinski had something to do with the choreography.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I feel
he was in. Whenever you're the star and the director, you're choreographing. I think. Can we all agree? We think it was probably him that had a lot to do with choreography.
That's what we have been talking about throughout the whole movie. We're like, this guy, it feels like he had just like completely manipulated the scene to his own will. Right here, he looks like this guy, the star director, had choreographed it as well. He's walking into this shit. He's the macho man, fucking.
Oh yeah,
ponytail all throughout. By the way,
yes, an epic flowing ponytail throughout this movie,
which he still has.
Which he still has
to this day.
In the interview I saw, he still had that long, flowing blonde hair.
If you got it, flaunt it.
Hey, yep, exactly.
I wonder if he hides like alcohol in this thing when he goes to big events where they don't allow alcohol at.
I really hope he does.
He has to be drunk to go to these interviews.
He has to be drunk to make a movie like this. And star in a movie like this and be like and think this is some artistic vision. Like I think that all the scenes he was in were the only ones he was at least 10 or 15% focused on, and the rest of them he's like
he's trying to make himself look good.
Yeah, he's like the rest of these guys just
fuck him.
Whatever. It's a blender of people in my movie. I'm
the star. I'm the star. I get all the attention here.
It's a blender of people and fucking scenes and random shit and happenstance circumstances that nobody knows what the hell's going on. So.
Because we sure didn't know what the hell was going on.
I'm still so confused.
Everybody was confused.
I still want to understand. I mean, like, there's even... Yeah, I mean, there was just so many scenes that made no sense.
We have...
There's a reason they teach you to make a rough draft in elementary school. After seeing the movie, I got a grasp of the story, and that's the main thing a movie should give you as a story. It is very blotchy and cut up, but there's remnants of a story. That's all I can say.
And this was remnants for sure. This was remnants cut up and put in a blender and just shot out of there. It's like
shot out of a cannon.
And this really just came out of the sphincter of the universe. This was the sphincter of the galaxy, rather. Yeah. This really came out of the sphincter of the galaxy. This movie really did.
If this was his first movie, I'd give him more leeway, but this is, at least according to this, his third movie.
This is his third movie. Okay.
His last one won Best Horror in 2006.
Wait. His last film won an award?
IMDb.
Oh my god.
Holy shit.
What was the movie called?
It's that wolf one.
The Fist of the Wolf, or no, not Fist of the Wolf.
I think you're thinking of in terms of like an old school kung fu movie.
I know, right? Fisting the Wolf.
Oh no, this one
we were gonna say
we were gonna call this one Fisting the Vampire.
Fisting vampires all the time. We were waiting for vampires to be fisted, but it never happened. Yeah. I was very, very disappointed. All of us were.
Yeah, I'm still really disappointed.
I was excited on that lesbian scene.
And then they even had a lesbian scene, but no fisting.
Yeah, we were thought that lesbian scene, the fisting was going to happen, but it never did. It was
and they didn't even use they could at least start with the Black Power fist and had that up in the background somewhere. But never.
Some kind of fist action. All we had was punching.
Here we go.
Right,
punching each other.
There wasn't a single fist in sight.
Great Lakes Film Festival 2006. Curse of the Wolf won Best Horror.
Curse of the Wolf won Best Horror. Wow, man. Okay.
It's the second movie according to this IMDb.
Okay.
That's really fucking interesting, man. I maybe
we'll have to track that one down and watch it.
I bet you it's goddamn god awful.
Oh, I'm sure it is.
Goddamn caustic
Hey,
garbage.
you
Could have
never
been
know.
the only horror there, though.
Yeah,
Who
true.
knows?
Yeah, well, think about it. It's the Great Lakes Film Festival.
It's like
Like, Chicago's right there, so it's clearly not the Chicago Film Festival. Milwaukee's right there. It's clearly not the Milwaukee Film Festival. So it's some other, like, hodunk small town. It's like, it's the Great Lakes Film Festival.
Pretty much means nothing.
Well, you never know. Maybe that's his one good one. You know, I mean, it's possible.
It
We're
is.
looking-
Don't look at me like that, Danger Brain. I know you don't believe it, but I'm just
giving
saying
you-
it's possible.
I'm giving you the soggy dog eyes. Right now.
Well, okay, so maybe we'll track this down one of these times, and maybe we'll do an episode on it and see if this Curse of the Wolf is any better than Fisting Vampires, Fist of the Vampire.
So we hadn't made that joke. We meant to make this joke throughout the whole thing. And, I don't know. I can't even vocalize it anymore because we've gone into this movie into more depth than I thought we would.
Oh, we're an hour and 10 minutes into the show.
But Fisting Vampires was one of the main facets of our jokes throughout the majority of the time we were watching this piece of shit. So, I mean, okay.
It would have made the movie better.
We were expecting.
fist them like that.
Well, we didn't know there was a fighting tournament going on, so we had to do a double take on this and be like, hey, is there fisting or is there punching? Is there going to be like a tournament? What's going on? Like, my whole thing was there's going to be a tournament. I was right. Yeah. But we didn't know that throughout like at least 45, 50 minutes into the movie.
It took a long time.
Which was weird.
Yeah, it took a long time to get to the fisting. I mean, like, because at the very beginning thing, we saw the attack and then the murder, and there was not really even any fighting then. And so, the fisting made no sense for a long time, and then at least there was some punching.
Well, this movie was god awful.
It didn't. In some ways.
I mean, it redeemed the title. Sorry, that's all I meant.
Yeah.
Redeemed
There were fists and there were vampires.
Right.
I feel like this movie, even being a part of a 20 movie pack, isn't worth 3 cents. I feel like, where did you find this pack at?
I got it at Walmart for like $5.
How much did this comes out to? How does this movie come out to? That's probably about 1 cent. I guess.
It's not much.
Divided by 20.
Yeah, so it's like
What's the actual cost of this piece of shit?
20 movies.
What's the damage?
What's the damage? What's the damage we got here? Huh?
Can't do this after alcohol.
Tell me the damage.
Yeah. It's I mean, it's not the kind of movie you would buy standalone.
I have a feeling that you can't buy it standalone. I think it's only available on these like 20 packs that you can get.
It's not worth it though. Like, why would you buy the thing is, like, sometimes you buy these packs because they have a seminal actor attached to them. Dr. Sleaze here was showing me pictures of a couple of his movies, and he was telling me, like, yeah, we could watch the Prophecy series, or we could watch these other movies. I'm like, those movies actually are worth, like, 1 cent or 2.
Yeah, no, they're competent movies, and
this movie isn't even worth, like, 1 cent cut in half.
I do want to point out, for this movie, we've spent over 3 hours discussing. An hour and 12 here and a little more beforehand.
And our 96 minutes of watching the film.
And what do you think? And what's your ultimate decision on this movie?
Yeah, what do you think? What's your assessment here?
As a movie and a story, it's
X-Caster.
terrible. But as a good night out to make fun of something, 10 out of 10.
It's commendable.
All right, man. Commendable. You know what? I'll agree. I agree with X-Caster on this. Yeah. It's not a good film, but if you're sitting down with your buddies, maybe having some drinks, and you want to see a bad movie that you guys can enjoy and just make fun of, this is a great film for that purpose.
It was hard for me to align with that, but I eventually got the purpose of it and enjoyed it. It was hard for me to get used to this movie.
I think Danger Brain wants to fist Len Kabasinski.
I do. I want to slam it right into the cavity.
And I'm just still confused. I
am too.
don't understand what happened.
I'm with you, Cleopatra,
I don't know
man.
why anything happened at all, and I don't understand. Like, the movie opened, it ended. there was like a graveside.
Shit happened in it, and then it was over.
Yeah, and I think going back to you said that I have made some things like the one thing about my movie is that like I repeated the plot.
What's your movie's called? What's your movie called?
Times.
What's your movie called?
Should I say it?
Yeah, plug it on the episode.
So it's sequel, the movie.
Okay.
Or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love Time Travel.
Yeah.
I like the title, man.
Okay, so yeah, his movie.
I haven't seen it. I'm gonna watch it. watch it.
I mean, okay,
but my point is that in my movie, I consistently told you the plot because I felt like it's important that you keep up with the story, or you're not going to be interested. And like this movie, I felt like they never, ever, ever, ever said the plot. Like at least have one exposition scene.
Yeah,
but instead it was like boom, action, boom, not action, boom, action.
Yeah.
You get the one scene at the end where they replay the events from the very beginning of the movie with the absolutely horrible filter, scratchy grain.
Basically, just to tell you, oh yeah, by the way, this cop guy, he was that kid in the fucking cupboard under the sink.
Horribly done.
Like at that point, we were just like, who gives a shit? I don't care.
That makes anybody roll their eyes when they play a scene earlier from the episode in a different filter. And they're like, this is what happened in the past.
It's just lazy.
It's done well, it can work. But in this case, it was, lazy.
Mm-hmm.
Right. What do you think? What do you think, Cleo?
Yeah, no, I would agree. I mean, they just didn't... It never made sense. I just keep going back to that.
Cleo's right.
I mean, what's it called? Pulp Fiction we mentioned earlier. I mean, it does the intercutting. It has the weird stuff going on. But there's at least some cohesiveness. I mean, there's still some logic.
There's also a definitive break as to when they're switching stories.
Right.
Not just next scene, this is years later.
Yeah, yeah. And then and at the end of the film, it all comes together in your mind. You can see what they were accomplishing. You can see where these pieces of the puzzle fit in context with the others. With this, it's not like that at all. It's just a puzzle that... It's like somebody threw it on the ground and there's pieces that are missing from it and you're told, hey, put the shit together in 15 minutes.
It's like if somebody just had splattered vomit on the ground and you're trying to find pieces of your puzzle of what happened throughout your night. That's what this movie's a lot like. I mean, I felt really...
What did I... Is that corn?
You follow it up.
Like a year.
You follow it up. This I don't know. I mean, okay, so we're trying to focus on the most base level of how we can just possibly comprehend how this movie could be redeemable in any way, shape, or form. It's really tough to do, but these guys are doing it pretty well. I can't. I just have to keep myself leveled on the fact that this movie made me really sick to my stomach, and it was not good.
And it wasn't because of the violence in the film.
It wasn't. No, the violence wasn't. Not. I mean, okay, so I'm used to a lot of really horrible and crass Korean movies and shit, and like I've seen some gnarly fucking shit in cinema and movies.
Oh yeah, me too.
Yep.
This does not constitute even a close effort to that. Like, this is the weirdest thing about this film is that they try to do, like, gratuitous headshots and, like people getting blasted with shotguns or something. And, like...
Microsoft Paint.
It looks like a Microsoft... Mm-hmm. It looks like they put every frame, they put, like, a couple pixels of blood, like, in Microsoft Paint for every frame for, like, 2 or 3 frames, and then they cut away from it immediately. And we already mentioned how the cuts in this movie were a huge problem. Like, you didn't know what was going on, like, and it happened.
It's broken.
It is broken.
I mean, that's the bottom line. It's a broken thing. We said at the beginning. I mean, it feels like a student film, and that's what's kind of so shocking to know. It's like his third film. It's like, he's not a student. Like,
it doesn't seem like he's learned a whole lot from the past 2 films.
He's supposed to be an actual filmmaker at this point, but he's not.
I wish I
not
could
a competent
say
filmmaker.
I wish I could say it felt like a student film, but I've seen
student films that were better.
I've seen student films that were better. Yeah, I have. I've seen student films that were actually really well done.
I have seen a lot. Yeah, I've seen student shorts that were really nice.
Yeah,
like, really
me too.
awesome.
This might be arrogant, but I think I could make a better film.
That's fair.
having no schooling whatsoever.
This
I
guy
know,
already
I know
did.
I could make a better film. I know these guys could too.
Cleopatra already did.
Cleopatra already has made a better film.
And it is a lot better in the way that it is self parody, and then it's like conscious of its own like stupidity. And
And at
it's,
least tell you what's going on.
yeah, it's,
Yeah, right.
it's a lot better.
Do you at least have character names? I don't think I know any of the character names from this movie.
I don't remember
That's a really
any.
good point. And in my film, because I worry about that exactly, my main hero, his name is Joe Hero, and his shirt is a white shirt with black block lettering that just says Hero. So that you know throughout the film that he's important. See, this
Right.
film, we had no clue who was important or why.
No, we didn't even know who the main character was throughout the whole film, and
Yeah.
I didn't even know the main character, the cop's name was
Lee Southward.
Lee Southward until we read about him.
Right.
We didn't even
up.
catch that in the
Nice.
film.
No.
Very nice. Yes, very.
We have the neckbeard. His name was the Blue Meanie.
He's a
When he
professional
was in-
wrestler.
Oh, the Blue Meanie. I think I
Professional
remember
wrestler.
him from back in the day.
So I remember the shit out of this guy. Yeah, the Blue Meanie.
The Blue Meanie. Okay, so that was Neckbeard, huh? That was Neckbeard the Hut. Wow.
Born in
Interesting.
Pennsylvania.
So,
Anyways, the diatribe I was going on is that I still can't get down with a movie like this. It's very hard for me to do that. Like, I love cheesy, campy movies, and I can try and find
This was not that though.
Yeah.
I can't get behind this movie. As much as I try, I can't find any positives. And I feel like they, even with the limited budget they had, and even with as much gusto as I'm sure a lot of the actors and a lot of the choreographed people did, like I couldn't get behind it. It was just
I don't.
it was
I don't
tough.
think. I don't think you have to get behind it.
Yeah.
Like, you seem like you're trying really hard to justify why you think it's okay to. Not
Why
like
I
it.
spent an hour and
Well-
a half watching it, I think.
Well, you did not like it. I mean, it's quite.
I didn't like it
was-
either. I don't think anybody did.
Right. I mean, it was difficult to watch it with you for a while because you just kept saying it sucked and wanted us to shut it off. So there was that, but I mean, it wasn't great. No doubt. Like, it wasn't really that fun to watch. I would definitely recommend nobody watch this film.
I agree.
I am glad that you have come to my point of view on this. Like, at least we came up with a couple pros.
Oh yeah, no, and I agree with you
we're
completely.
pretty optimistic people. Like,
Yeah.
we came up with a couple.
We're
pros.
trying to be fair with the movie. We really are trying to be fair.
But when you see this movie, you will know within the first 15 minutes you don't want to watch it, which
Yeah.
just sucks because I think that they could have done things to prevent that from happening.
Yeah, they could have. And what you were saying about how it's something you probably shouldn't watch. I agree. You probably shouldn't watch this. I think the only time you may want to see this is if you are somebody who is interested in filmmaking, or you're just such a hardcore movie fan that you want to see as many things as you possibly can, and see. Or if you're somebody that searches out bad, terrible movies, this might be something you'd be interested in. But if you are looking for a good experience, this is not it. This is not it. Like X-Caster mentioned before, this is the kind of movie you get drunk with your friends watching and you make fun of it.
And that was even tough for me to do.
And that was even tough for Danger Brain to do. He's been drinking the whole time and it's not helping him.
I've been drinking the whole time, and like I got drunk even before this film in preparations for watching this film because apparently I recommended it. I don't know why, in what universe or galaxy I fucking decided. I looked at a cover of this film and said, let's watch this piece of garbage.
Well, remember, you were drunk. That's what did it. It was the alcohol. Just blame the alcohol. Blame the alcohol.
Oh my god. You should have probably just fucking knocked me straight out.
I don't know.
Your opinion isn't valid here.
You probably should have shown this bachelor party in the bungalow of the damned. That would have been a better movie.
Bachelor
We're-
party in the bungalow of the dam.
That's another thing. We are gonna have to revisit some of these 20 packs and 15 packs again at a later time because they do have. There's plenty of material here to work with. But well, guys, we are almost at the 1 hour and 30 minute mark. This will be our longest review episode.
Woohoo.
So, hey, so I think let's start wrapping things up here. Does anybody have any final thoughts?
All right, garbage, shit, pile, burning tire fire. You know, your fucking lungs are toxified. Your mind exploded. God awful garbage. Run away. Go away from it. And we're gonna eat these dill pickle fucking Lays, which are delicious, by the way.
Right? They are pretty good.
So
If we can throw a product placement into this, let's go ahead.
let's not do that.
Yeah.
That's
We're not getting paid to.
Not until they pay you.
We're not getting paid to plug Lays.
right.
Okay, I'm
Plug
sorry.
who? Yeah. Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Cleo's turn.
Yeah, so I gotta finish it by saying, energy, fake fire, weirdness. Have no clue what happened. Don't watch it.
X-Caster, final thoughts?
So I guess I'll just do a rating system. Out of 10, 0 fisted vampires.
No vampires got fisted.
No
That's
vampires
pretty
got
accurate.
fisted in this film. I agree. Yeah, that's it, man. I mean, these guys said it all. I don't think I need to add anything more to this. It was. They said it all. It couldn't be said any better than that. We didn't have any fisted vampires. It was a total mess, a wreck of a film, and you should probably stay away from this film unless you are masochistic.
And then you want to, yeah.
I don't know. I like spreading the pain, so you should all watch it.
That's because X-Caster is a sadist and wants to hear
Let's
you
give
all
this film to
groan in
everybody.
agony.
Let's let everybody know that life is a fucking endless game of torment. This film will remind you every time you watch it. Okay, I'm sorry, but it's not even a penny movie. This isn't a penny movie.
It's half a penny, remember?
It's a half a penny movie. It's God damn it! Why did we watch this? I wanted to watch the Roddy Piper movie.
You picked it.
I know.
All right, guys. Well, hey, thank you so much for listening. Next week on Video Vagrancy, I think we're going to be doing Twilight.
Hopefully.
The worst, the film that brought down the vampire genre.
It wasn't this one?
No, it wasn't this one. This one wasn't. Yeah, this one was not big enough of an. It did not have big enough of an impact.
At least they don't sparkle in the sunlight in this movie.
Yeah, exactly. There are at least regular vampires in this film. Twilight single-handedly destroyed the vampire genre because it became such a cultural phenomenon, and that is why we are going to review it and annihilate it, and also do a commentary on it. So that's the first movie we're going to be doing both of. So that'll be next week. We'll have the full team. Allison will be back then. Well, guys, hey, thank you for listening to Video Vagrancy.
If you listen this long.
Yeah, if you listen this long. I'm Dr. Sleaze. We've got Cleopatra over there.
Peace.
Danger Brain.
Thank you for listening.
And our guest host, X-Caster.
Good.
Ciao.
All right, guys. Thank you for listening and have a great night. That's Video Vagrancy signing off.
Fuck you.